wrap up, don't you?
All right.
You are live.
Okay. So this is Senate Conference Committee on the 2022 budget. And what we wanted to do next is to go through a spreadsheet in terms of how we use the different funding sources for what particular expenditures. We had asked Joint Fiscal to take a look at that in light of some of the guidance that has come down, and where we how we want to proceed on this. So we have Stephanie with us again, and she's prepared a sheet for us to take a look at and see how we can look at available general fund, what we use it for, and excuse me, and so that would be our first step for this afternoon. So Stephanie, I'm going to let you probably screen share, or
I'm not sure I can from my iPad, but maybe Teresa could put it up. I sent it to her a short bit ago.
okay.
Send it to people and I can, hang on, I'm right in the middle of.
Sorry. I work from the iPad when I'm in the office. When I'm at home
Sorry,
on the
no.
PC, it's much easier for me to figure out how to do this.
I can do it. I just was in
Okay.
the middle of doing it, something else. So let me just,
Okay.
I am ready to roll. There we go.
Okay. So this is a 4-page document. This is the first page. It's sort of the in the money page. And so this is a document we went over, I think, at a couple of different times, maybe not, over the weekend or last Friday. Anyway, what I'm laying out here is where I think we are with FY21 and FY22 actually available general fund revenue. So this is just general fund we're talking about here on the top side of the sheet. And a couple new sources of revenue have, as they do often in the direct app world, turned up at the end of the year. I think we talked about abandoned property last week a little bit, so I didn't highlight it, but DFR fees appear to be coming in significantly above expectation, both for this year and the expectation to roll out next year. That's the 14 million and 14 million that you see highlighted. And then Pay Act in this current year, we understand from the Commissioner of Finance and Management, about 7.5 of that is available to revert on a one-time basis because Pay Act costs have been covered by other means in this unusual year. It is just one-time money, clearly. And what this top side sheet with all these moving pieces and what you see a lot more moving pieces down the 21 column is $23.3 million available in 21 and about $65 million available in 22. And so what I'm showing on the bottom of the sheet, which is really the discussion, is, nope, just scroll up a little bit. Yep. Is pieces that would move from being ARPA funded into being funded from the general fund, either in 21 or 22 here. And so on the left-hand side in 21, I'm showing the pieces that we would go in and amend H315 and change the funding source from ARPA state fiscal recovery dollars to straight up general fund dollars for all these component pieces. The A&R recreational infrastructure, 5 million. We did the VOREC in GF in that bill. This would move the infrastructure piece into general fund. The technical assistance to local government, which was through the league and through the RPCs, would move to general fund. The working lands would move to general fund. The soil health piece of it would remain as a carve out. Emergency outreach and peer support, urgent case management, frontline workforce and wellness training, recovery centers, New Americans Food Bank, and Association for the Blind and Reach Up grants. Those would all move onto the general fund away from the ARPA tab in this construct.
Yeah, just one clarification. Working lands, you said soil health. I believe it was a slaughterhouse.
Oh, slaughterhouse, sorry. Soil health was its own line item in
Right.
315 out of the general fund already. Yes, it is the slaughterhouses. And then there are a couple pieces in the 439 bill, the E911 stabilization and the youth employment, that would move to general fund. Those had been done in ARPA in FY21, so they would come onto the FY21 column in general fund. We talked about doing I don't know if you did at 11, I missed the 11 o'clock meeting, but Fiber Connect as its own
we did.
standalone piece. And then we have to reserve some dollars for stabilization and reserve requirements. So there's that capacity that needs to be considered. And then
Stephanie, one thing that we identified this morning, and that was the last communication from the Network on Domestic Violence had a shortfall because of revenues of 345,000. And there was I think a consensus that we would like to fill that gap for this.
Okay, so that would also fit in this left-hand column because
yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to, Representative Hooper, just want to confirm that's your understanding?
Yes, that is.
And we internally are sort of doing our double checking because there are bits of money popping up in other bills that we just want to make sure that we've captured them all in our balance construct. And so there's capacity here for that to be, covered as well.
All right.
But then moving on to the right-hand side of the bottom of this sheet is pieces that are in the H439 bill as it came out of the Senate with a few number changes that have been discussed, I think, and moving those they're in the G section and moving those into general fund. In some cases, the appropriation might change from its location, but in most cases, they'll stay in the G section. They'll just be from general fund dollars as opposed to ARPA dollars. And so these are pieces that are either small or were more questionable whether or not they could be out of ARPA dollars, et cetera. So in the water world, the only one that would move to general fund would be the dam safety piece. We didn't think that was particularly likely to be eligible for ARPA investment. The next one down is one that has changed, and it needs actually another word in this header, in this label. And that would be putting 2.5 out to the RPCs for capacity for bylaw modernization and for energy planning, helping energy planning. And that would all be in the climate world. We would carry that general fund appropriation. Just like we did in 315, the working lands would move over to the general fund. The transfer to the downtown fund would be a general fund to the downtown fund transfer.
Why do you have VSAC to the left of downtown fund?
Because my little left-hand things got mixed up when some things got rearranged. So scratch out the left-hand VSAC piece is supposed to be dropped down one level.
Okay.
It's supposed to go with the next one down. I think I inserted something and I didn't move that left-hand piece down. Thank you. So those left-hand labels are off by one row. They should all be down one, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Because the next piece are all the VSAC pieces that we had done in the bill would be moving to the general fund. And a couple of the pieces of the state colleges that should say VSC across from that, the Welcome Home Scholarships and the dental pieces would be moving to the general fund. Just like in H315, the recovery centers would be moving to the general fund. The parent-child center would be moving to the general fund. The food bank and the local food money would be moving on to the general fund tab. And then the crime victims and network pieces would be moving on to the general fund. The digitization help for the Council on the Arts would be moving on to the general fund. The fairs grants would be moving on to the general fund. The two pieces in the climate world through the CAPS, the coaching and statewide coordination and the mileage smart, that would be coming on to the general fund. The $20 million of state college transformation money, of which 8 million is the 22 amount, would be coming on to the general fund. And then the other piece where the number has changed is a total of $15 million out to the independent colleges would be on the general fund tab. And that essentially uses up most of the capacity of the 22 general fund.
So, can I ask a question?
Yes, certainly.
Stephanie, in the 315 items, which has already been passed and signed by the governor, this proposal would not change those amounts. It would just
Change the funding source
change the funding source. So,
from
for
the ARPA.
example, we wouldn't be taking, as I see in 439, for example, recovery centers have 300,000 and 315, they got 240. That'd be a total of 540,000, not right.
It's still 540,000. It's just all out of
Just,
general fund.
It'll all be out of general instead of
Yeah.
ARPA.
The
Okay.
240 will still be in FY21. It'll be out of general fund, and 300 will be FY22 out of general fund.
Okay. By the way, they were a little confused because they thought that the House had put in 300,000 and the Senate had only put in 240,000.
No, it's cumulative, both
I know.
two separate years. Yeah.
They didn't, I don't think they understood that.
Yeah, I think that came to 45,000 per center. Between the two. Okay.
That's sort of the picture of the general fund actual appropriations being made in FY22, 21 or 22 that are changing from what they were, their sources, or in a few cases, a few new pieces like Fiber Connect, which was in neither bill. And what you just mentioned on the network, the 345, we'll add that to this list.
Okay. And then I had one other question that was floating around, and I know it has to do with what the House is working on, and that is a UI study. Is that in another bill, or should we?
I believe I think it's in another bill. I think it's in S67 or so. And I think it may fit into we left a little bit of capacity at the top of this sheet for other bills, and we certainly have capacity in FY21 for it. So that's part of our sort of making sure that we nail down all the bits and pieces that are floating in other bills. So it will either show up explicitly as one of the items on the bottom of this sheet, or it will be incorporated into the capacity we've left at the top of this sheet for other bills.
Okay, so this is in fact a question that will come up because House Appropriations Committee is meeting at 3:30 on S62, which has that UI study in it. And so is the thought that we should attend to that in the budget rather than appropriating it?
So we can, if this conference would like to appropriate the dollars here, we have other studies appropriated in this bill, and we can certainly accommodate it and put it here, and then have the language about it run in S62.
I just suggest managing it that way. Language in 62, money in this bill.
So we'll have a UI study line in this bill then.
I agree with you, Representative Hooper. That's what we've tried to do, is put the money so it's shown here, and then the language can go. And for the other Senate members, what this is, maybe you could explain what this 100,000 is going to be to study our UI system. So Representative Hooper, do you want to just brief the Senate conferees around what's being proposed here?
I will try. As S62 made its way from our Commerce Committee to our Ways and Means Committee and then on to us, a concern has been developed around how the unemployment insurance system programs are working. Do we I think it began as a conversation about the actual information technology system, but as it was thought about more, and I think this has been done in consultation with folks from the Senate side, there was a notion that we needed to look at detection and prevention of fraud and overpayment, claims processing, and kind of a variety of issues associated with that. But programmatic questions and understanding that, and then understanding how the information technology system should be built, the new one that we know that we desperately need, how it should be built to manage a modernized UI system. And so that is, and so there needs to be some help in understanding in understanding the programmatic issues, and that's what the proposed study is.
Uh,
All right, Senator Sears?
Well, actually not about that bill, but a
Oh.
different bill.
All right, so,
Well, I'm gonna
so-
ask about S3, where the money is for that. I believe the House appropriated 500,000. S3 is the competency bill that you passed last week, is on our notice calendar.
Yes. I
Where's
think
that
I think
carried?
it's 540. And so that would be part of that $1.2 million up above where we're accounting for other bills estimate.
Okay,
It's a negative red number. And I've already, there were that piece and the registry for the rentals that I thought was in special fund, but is in general fund. So we made an allowance for other bills, which weren't accounted for when when the budget had passed the Senate.
Right.
And so the UA, that's why I was saying the UI might fall into this 1.2, or it might become its own line item
so
in this.
if we were to concur with that bill on Wednesday,
It would be accounted for here in this
it'd
construct.
already be accounted for. It's not a money
Yes, you wouldn't
issue,
have to,
whether we,
it wouldn't create havoc here. We've already
Okay.
accounted for it.
but, so if the Senate agrees on that one on Wednesday, which we probably won't do, we'll probably offer a concur with further proposed amendment, and it doesn't get decided till next Friday, and we've already settled the budget, how's that gonna work? And the same for the unemployment
It's-
study.
So that in that particular bill, the appropriation is running there. And if you're not changing the appropriation in your concur further amend, you're
Yep.
just all set on the appropriation side. And you're just talking about policy in that bill.
Okay, so it doesn't change
It doesn't impact here
unless we obviously don't pass. it.
unless in the back and forth, you start to change the appropriations that are in that bill.
Well, we
and if you
won't do
don't
that.
pass it, then the money falls to the bottom line.
Then
Exactly.
we won't be changing the appropriation, I guarantee you that.
Okay. All right, other questions? Thank you. Obviously, this is quite a bit of work to go in and crosswalk this and identify the ones that lend themselves to using general fund, or like the dam safety, which was part of the administration's proposal for ARPA that, and turns out doesn't seem to be a permissible use. So we've accommodated some of that as well. Okay, any questions on this? Because obviously, once we agree on this, it's gonna, as we've talked about earlier, it'll impact other sections on our conference list. Okay. If not, we're pushing toward 2:30, are we? I don't have.
Yes, we are, sadly.
So the question becomes one of, what time we come back, and the other, and I don't know, Senator Westman, do you have something that you can offer then when we come back, or? You're muted.
I just need to talk to you and Dick,
Okay. All
because I
right.
sent you both a copy of it.
Oh,
Yeah, I was okay with it.
all right. So if the two Richards are happy, gee, should Jane upset the apple cart? As you see, the position question that you had about the positions at the caps, those are on the list that we just approved, the funding
Okay.
for that. So
Good.
that got clarified.
Good.
And I guess we should let House appropriations go, because you have to, is it 2:30 already?
It is close to 2:30, it's 2:29, and so I have a meeting that I need to attend at 2:30, and then Hack is meeting at 3:30 on S62. Maybe if you could take a look at the language that Senator Westman has sent you. And then you could, if it's okay with you, you could forward it to us and we can read it before we get back together again and we can get through that.
Well, my question is, what time do we
Yeah.
get back together?
We'll be free by 4:30.
That, this is, I'm sorry, but I would like to, I don't have evenings as free as some people, so I need to be done by 5:30.
Okay.
I do too.
Yeah, I know that you have that your caregiving schedule. Senator Sears, want to be respectful of that. So should we try?
Senator Bissell, may I suggest, so we're supposed to meet at 3:30. Let us say that we'll be back with you by 4:15. And that'll give us, I would love to think we could get through a 62 and a half an hour. I'm just worried that we may not. So give us 45 minutes and then we'll come back to you and see what we can get through.
Okay, so Senator
Good.
Sears, you need to be wrapped up, you said by 5:30?
Yeah,
Okay.
in that time frame. Yeah.
Well, I would think, closing out this money here did quite a bit. We can kind of see what that looks like relative to our sheet. So shall we try to then 4:15 reconvene
Right, yeah.
and see what we can, what else we can close out? And
Rumor has it that the Transportation Committee is meeting at 2:30 and is at near or close to agreement, and maybe
that's my understanding.
so maybe that could be chased down and we could see how that relates back to the budget and bring it in.
That would be my plan. Chris Roop is just across the hall, so I'll see what I can find out.
Okay. So 4:15?
Okay, yes, 4:15.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll go off